That was even worse. Let's do it. Welcome back to Worthadram. I'm Grim.
And I'm Red.
This is your home for whiskey reviews, 2 for the price of 1 opinions, and 10% off all recycled jokes.
We are having a fire sale today.
Speaking of which, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling
looking
pretty
a little trimmed there.
I had to trim up the mustache a little bit.
Yeah.
I had to trim up the beard a little bit.
It does still smell like toasted ginger back here.
You know what? It's not a bad smell.
Well,
Smells are subjective.
entirely. So here we are, back behind the bar again, standing on our own 2 feet.
We are standing.
Not too much worse for the wear.
A little lighter.
Oh, man, I gotta say, your jokes are on fire lately. Anyway, so we're back here thanking my mother once again.
Thank you, Mama Grim.
Yeah, for sending us another bottle. Today we're taking a look at Booker's Bourbon. Booker's Bourbon. I was going to say Bourbon Boston Batch.
So batch 2020 batch 2.
Yeah.
Which is the Boston batch.
That was released in July of this year.
Yeah. And 126 proof. So it
Yeah.
is our highest proofed bourbon. Highest proofed anything.
Yep.
But highest proof anything on the show.
So I'm pretty sure that the next episode is going to be real sloppy.
It's going to be real spicy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the packaging.
I mean, so let's go straight into the price point right off the bat.
Yeah. So this is a $95 bottle.
Yeah, and
Where we're at?
that's average, I'd say. I mean, it's probably more expensive elsewhere. I was able to pick up a bottle at our grocery store for $78, which I then passed on to one of our buddies in the Whiskey Hunters group.
That's a deal, I think.
Well, so I kind of talked up Worthadram a little bit with the
Nice.
people at the service desk, and they were like, "Well, yeah, I mean, you bought 6 bottles, right? You know, we just had a 25% off sale if you bought 6 bottles." I'm like, "I have bought 6 bottles," and then I gave them a channel. I gave them one of our little tokens with a QR code, and
Nice.
so they ended up giving me the discount on this. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I have definitely bought 6 bottles at the grocery store.
Yep.
Before.
So Booker's is one of the many small batch bourbons owned or produced by the Jim Beam Distillery.
Yeah, they also do their small batch collection is also Basil Hayden,
Baker's.
Knob Creek.
Yep.
Baker's
Knob Creek.
are kind of their
Knob Creek.
Knob Creek. Kind of their 4 main. You see Knob Creek bought the age statements back, by the way, starting this year.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So, aside, tangent that we love to do, Knob Creek used to have age statements back when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of went away, and then Jim Beam brought them back. I want to say it was the releases this year. So now if you look, the base level Knob Creek, I think is Knob Creek 9.
Okay.
They have 12, 15. Anyway, Booker's.
Yeah, we're still talking about Booker's. Like, there's a lot that we would like to cover, but I really want to get to pouring here.
Yeah, for sure.
So Booker's in general is aged between 6 to 8 years. They actually give you a very, very specific age statement. This one, I believe, was 6 years, 3 months, and 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very specific compared to, like a distillery like Maker's Mark, where they don't age to an age or to time. They age to taste,
Yeah.
So they're constantly sampling, whereas, I mean, I'd imagine that they sample these as well, and they just happen to mark down the exact day.
Yeah. There was actually a term for the shiny barrel when I was doing some research. So there are barrels in the warehouse that warehouse workers, in the past, I'm not going to say they do it now, but in the past, they would sneak drams from because they were just so good, and those became known as the shiny barrels.
So during our research, we saw that, there is a specific place in the Rick House that produces some of the best bourbon. Now, is that the shiny barrel?
Yeah, so those are the shiny barrels. So generally, it's the middle of the house. That's where the temperature is the best, the humidity is the best. So that produces the best barrels, the best flavor.
So the brand actually began as personally selected barrels by Jim Beam's own grandson, Booker No.
Yeah.
Originally bottled as gifts and then distributed to close friends, family. And it wasn't...
That would have been a hell of a gift. Like, how do you top that as a gift if you're a whiskey enthusiast? Like, here's a master distiller personally selecting a bottle for you.
Not just that, but being the one selected. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I like you a lot.
Yeah.
Here's one of 200 bottles that I've got.
Yeah.
So actually, we did recently just buy into a single barrel release for bourboncharity.org.
Yeah.
And that single barrel produced 204 bottles. So now, at least, we have an idea of like how, if you happen to see a single barrel release of your favorite whiskey, you have a rough idea of how many bottles are actually in that single barrel.
And that, if you haven't checked out Bourbon Charity, we'll link them down below. But the proceeds for this one actually went to the Phoenix Children's Hospital.
Yep, 20%.
So, pretty excited to be a part of that.
Yep.
We'll also get to that on the channel here.
We will, yeah.
Here soon.
We've got it chilling back here, and it's on the list.
It's the only elk that I'm getting this year.
Did you? Oh, you didn't get in the lottery then.
I did not.
Oh, all right.
I tried.
That's a shame.
Next year.
Anyway, so Booker's.
We're still talking about Booker's.
We still are. I said originally bottled as gifts. It wasn't until 1988 that it was actually released as a publicly available expression of bourbon.
And at that time, it was only like 1,000 cases. It
Yeah.
was still very, very limited. Yeah, super small batch. Which Booker No actually coined that term, small batch, as he was going through this process.
That sounds like a fun fact.
That did. You know what? That is a fun fact.
So as these,
That's our first retroactive fun fact.
it sure is, yeah. So each barrel was hand selected from the center of the rickhouse, which we talked about being the best place.
The shiny barrels.
Shiny barrels due to temperature and humidity. And that tradition is actually carried on to this day since Booker No is passed by his son Fred No.
Yeah.
It's actually, I was watching an interview with Fred a couple days ago, and he actually says that his parents used to joke that he was their second child, because the first was their distillery.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to start pouring.
I was going to go on a little bit more, and then I'm looking at the bottle, I'm looking at the color, and
We did say that it's uncut, but it's also unfiltered.
Yes.
Like this is straight from, this is what you get from the barrel.
Yes. I believe it was episode 3, you had said straight from the Walker Teat. This is straight from the Booker.
Yep, that's exactly, yeah.
If you want a visual to go in with that.
I cut all of the embarrassing moments out, and then this one goes and edits Devil's Cut Batch 2 and puts them all right back in.
The world wants to know.
Yeah, inquiring minds.
Booker's, in general, the proof kind of varies, like 121 to 130 proof. This one, I think, is 126 and a half proof, or is 126 proof?
It's 126 and a half.
126 and a half. Ooh, that was
Elegant.
subtle. It was elegant. I like it. It was elegant. So every batch that is put out of Booker's comes from a...
I'm not doing that again.
Man!
Where's the jigger?
That was almost one in a row. We didn't... I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know where the jigger is. So today we're looking at the Boston batch, which I think we already said was the second release for 2020.
Yes.
Came out in July of this year. Each batch that Booker's does is named for something significant in Booker No's life, his history.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I think earlier in the year or late last year, it was Granny's batch, named after his grandmother. Beaten Biscuits is another one I've heard.
That's twice I've tried putting the actual cork back into the infinity.
I mean, it's a technique. Boston batch is actually named for the distillery where Booker No got his start, working in the distillery, experimenting. It was his home for 40 years, and it was a distillery located in Boston, Kentucky. It was bought by Jim Beam in 1950, and Booker spent about 40 years there just tinkering around with bourbon. That's really how he learned what goes into making a bourbon. I think we mentioned this was aged 6 years, 3 months, and 10 days.
Yes.
Mash bill is unknown, or it's not publicly known, but we were able to do a little bit of research, and it's within a couple percentage points of 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley.
Yep.
Now that's exactly 100%. I was trying to do math in public. Don't do that. It's within a couple percentage points, and I've always seen 13% rye. It's the corn and the barley that I've seen shift.
Kind of
either
fluctuates.
77 and 10 or 75 13 or 75 12.
So I'd say it's not really, no one really knows for sure, but at least everyone has a good idea.
Yeah, it can not as well known as the date when the barrel came out, but
I'll tell you this. So that being that high of a proof, it carries
Yeah.
that vanilla scent away from the bar.
Yeah.
I can smell it from here.
I mean, I can smell it from where I put it in front of my nose, but I was expecting 126 proof just to get alcohol vapor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not.
I feel like the Uncle Nearest is probably a little sharper on the nose.
Yeah. I almost get. Do you get? I almost get a citrus on there. There's vanilla.
Yeah,
oak.
definitely. So now that you've mentioned the citrus, like that's in the forefront.
Yeah. But man,
Orange.
It's orange?
It's almost, you know what? It kind of has the same scent as a Blue Moon with an orange slice in it.
Ooh. That actually sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
I was looking up cocktails for a barcode episode, sorry. And one of them was mixing Blue Moon with a whiskey.
Blurmer.
Blum, blum. I haven't even drank yet. Blue Moon with a whiskey that we're going to review in a few weeks. But it's garnished with an orange slice. Anyway,
That makes sense.
orange, vanilla, oak.
Oak's
It's
gentle.
Gentle. It's not in your face.
Yep.
You can tell it was aged in oak barrels, but
The first thing you said, I would have expected it to be a lot sharper on the nose
Yeah.
with such a high alcohol content, but it's really not.
yeah. I don't get, with relatively high rye in there. 13% for a bourbon is mid to high, I think, for
Mhm.
a rye count. I would expect to get more of that baking spice, maybe that cinnamon flavor, but I don't get
Yeah.
a whole lot of that on the nose.
The notes also called out kind of like a toasted nut scent. I'm
Yeah.
not getting
I'm not
that
really
either.
picking that up either.
Nope. Actually, no. There is a little bit of like a roasted almond,
Yeah.
a tiny little bit, but that's a subtle fragrance
like,
anyway.
That's like you're looking for it,
Yeah.
and it's right. It's really behind everything else. The color is, man, that's a nice.
Uncut and unfiltered.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm going in.
Let's do it.
I'm very excited. There's that proof.
Yeah. But you know what? It's not overpowering.
It's not, and I don't want it to come across as, oh my god, it was just burning. But as
Don't get me wrong. Like that, it is a nice subtle burn.
It's a burn. As I was drinking it, I could feel like a tickle in my nose.
Yep. I could actually feel the muscles in my jaw kind of tighten a little bit, and it not, obviously not painful, but
Yeah.
it's not unpleasant like that. You definitely know that you're drinking
Yeah. And,
63.5% alcohol or whatever it is.
I'm getting that chest warmth now.
Yep.
Man, that's good.
Thank you, Mom. That's a good one.
Thank you, Mama Grim. Yeah, I honestly was expecting more of a hit at 126 proof.
Yeah, I was too.
So for me on the taste, I get that citrus again, that vanilla flavor. I'm not getting as much oak as I thought I would. Granted, 6, almost 7 years, but
So the bourbon itself isn't thick. Like it's not
yeah,
like a really like high viscosity. I mean, we've had some pretty thick whiskeys back here. I mean,
I'm glad you said whiskeys.
the Jeremiah Weed,
Yeah,
the Screwball, those are thick. Those are
yeah.
syrupy.
I would say the Weller Special Reserve was a
Yeah, that was
we
thick
call it
too.
Thick
Yep.
bourbon.
This tastes thick, but it flows really well.
Yeah,
It just has a very, very strong flavor, very strong presence.
yeah,
And that's being uncut in its nature. Like you don't lose any of the flavor because
Yeah. cut
cut by definition is adding water to bring the proof down, but that also
yeah.
waters it down.
So speaking of which, Booker No did suggest he was very careful to say this is not the right way to drink it, but he did suggest maybe a drop of water to kind of open up those flavors a little bit. And
Yeah.
maybe take away that alcohol bite. But
I think I'm gonna have one more sip uncut.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like it's pure bourbon. Like
Yeah. And it's also like it's got a really nice rounded smoky sweetness.
yeah, And then I think on that back end is where I get some of that nuttiness. It's subtle.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
enough to add that little bit of a flavor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like drinking toasted screwball, but just a little subtle
Technically, that
nuttiness
wouldn't.
to it.
Screwball isn't a nutty whiskey. It's a legoomy whiskey.
Ooh. I'm gonna take the Bookers and I'm gonna go inside. And I'm gonna finish. We're gonna cut all of that.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna give it 3 drops.
3 drops.
Yeah.
Man. Almost, you know, that sweetness that comes out in there is. This is gonna sound weird when I say it, a dark sweetness. Almost like a brown sugar. Yeah.
Do the thing.
All right. 1. That was not 1.
Man,
2,
that changed
3.
the whole flavor. It drops that citrus right out.
Really?
Brings all the toasted flavors and like the dessert caramel and vanilla.
Well,
Brings
I'm
it
gonna
right
drink.
to
I'm gonna drink some water. I'm gonna clear it.
Yeah, go for it. Like that adds like like a nice. It's a buttery mouthfeel after that.
Wow.
Right?
The citrus definitely gets toned down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting flavor to be targeted with a few drops of water.
Yeah.
To bring that down.
And I wonder if it's just because it's a delicate, you know.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense now.
I don't know. I'm literally guessing here. But yeah, that's interesting. And it definitely, it almost rounds it out more
Yeah.
to that buttery feel you were talking about.
Yep. And I mean, that was already like a really well-rounded
Yeah.
flavor profile. And that actually,
I don't know which one I like better.
we have a whole nother glass to get to.
I know.
We've already done the weird cut.
The expected cut.
The expected cut.
So it was 10 minutes.
It's actually, yeah, it's rested a lot longer now because we had to,
We had some stuff we forgot that we had to do.
how dare you.
I'm sorry.
So, sniffer ice.
Sharper on the nose?
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's, yeah, almost a little sharper,
I think so.
which is interesting.
And it might be, I think that's just because, like, as this is sat, more of that alcohol is kind of,
Aerosolized.
yeah, I was going to transmogrified.
Oh, I like transmog.
Whatever the actual verb is, it's verbed from its liquid state to a gaseous state. And it's been sitting in this glass, so I think I actually got punched right up front with it.
So maybe do a little, what do we call this, the Buddy Holly?
Yeah, the Buddy Holly swirl.
Yeah.
Yeah, the swirl. That was the key.
Helps a little bit.
That citrus fragrance is actually, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's knocked up for me.
dialed to 11.
The citrus is Pregosaurus right now. But then I get all the same flavors from the first glass. So the
Yeah.
citrus is a little higher, but then that same vanilla, a little bit of oak.
It's a good strong bourbon, and I didn't expect any of the flavors to really diminish that much.
Yeah.
I expected, being uncut, I expected it to just really, really hold its presence over this whole time.
Yeah.
I can't wait any longer.
Neither can I. Oh man. Well, that's worth a dream.
Bam.
Man, I get a little bit more of that, I think, rye baking spice. Cinnamon.
Yeah.
On the back end for sure. More vanilla, not more vanilla, but more citrus on the nose, but less, I think, on the palate
Mm-hmm.
on the second glass.
It's still, it dances
Mm-hmm.
back there, and
Yeah.
it really does, like, it tightens the muscles. Like this is one that you don't just taste it, you don't just drink it, like you really do feel it.
Yeah. No, it tingly. It's the only word I can think of to describe it. But or what did you say earlier? Tinglers. It gives me tinglers.
I couldn't say it right the first time. I can't remember what I said. So I mean, I've seen some reviews. I've seen some people say that this is not one of their favorite batches. It's not one of their favorite releases. But I mean, first impressions, because I haven't had Booker's before.
Yeah, this is a first for me when it comes to Booker's.
Yep, it is very good.
Yeah,
I'm very, very curious to taste other releases. Like if I can get my hands on like a 2019.
Yeah.
Or anything else.
I mentioned Granny Batch, I think in the beginning.
Granny's
that
Batch,
was supposed to be one of the highlights.
Yeah, I think Beaten Biscuits was another one.
Yeah.
That's another crowd favorite.
Is Pigskin? I think Pigskin is the next release. Might have to pick it up.
I think so. So my mom actually, when she saw this, and she saw Boston Batch, she was like, "Oh, I have to have it. That's the one." Granted, I mean, she knew it wasn't for Boston, Massachusetts. She knew it was for Boston, Kentucky, but still, she liked the name.
I didn't know it was for Boston, Kentucky until I researched it. So
that is a very fine bourbon. Obviously, it's not going to be for everybody's daily sipper.
No, I mean, once you get up into the $90, $100 price range, that for me becomes a special occasion. Once every so often.
And it's funny to think about a bourbon as a special occasion spirit, but this definitely, I mean, it's got its place there.
Yeah. So I think I added 6 drops of water to this one.
Okay, I stuck with the 3 because I feel like I hit that sweet spot.
Oh man.
I don't know if that just splashed from your glass or your mouth, but some liquid hit my hand.
You know what? It's the water of life.
So, impressions? Nah, I think we already made it through our impressions. Like, it's not for the everyday sipper.
No, I mean, I think if you're a fan of bourbon and you really like bourbon, I think you owe it to yourself to pick up a batch of Booker's.
At least one. It doesn't necessarily need to be the Boston Batch, but so far, I mean, it's definitely good. Like, I'd say, I can't really comment on whether it's worth the price or not because we unfortunately didn't pay for it because my mother is feeding into my whiskey hobby.
And I thank you because I am a co-recipient. Recipient?
Recipient. Yeah, you're just adding an R where it shouldn't be.
R. There's a...
My wife rang our wedding bell, and I don't know what that means.
He said, "Arr."
I think it means we have to kiss.
Seagulls.
It is. It's a ship bell, yeah.
See, it was appropriate.
You were reaching for it before.
Yeah, I know. I was appropriate.
I mean, do you still want to put the banner up?
We should. I mean, we should always do the banner.
Let's do the banner. How long is 10 seconds again?
Mrs. Red. Anyway.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I think if you're a fan of bourbon, I think you owe it to pick yourself up some Booker's.
Yeah, it's certainly worth experiencing at least once. I don't think that any particular batch will be disappointing for a first timer.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's obviously I'm speculating because this is still our first.
And I do want to say if you know you really like bourbon, because this is bourbon in the raw. It's
uncut, unfiltered, and it absolutely tastes that way.
If you're one of those like I was a couple of years ago, you're still trying new things, figuring out what you like, figuring out, you know, hey, this bottle looks really cool, I'm gonna go grab it. Maybe not. Maybe wait until you know.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, figure out your palate first. Like, so if you're a fan of bourbons, like obviously anyone can take a shot at maker and say like, oh, I like bourbon.
Yeah.
But if you are a fan of bourbon, you definitely, I think you said it the right way. You owe it to yourself to at least experience one batch, regardless. I don't think, I mean, with that much history and experience, I don't think that a single batch is going to let a first timer down.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, obviously, like, you know, we could try 2021's O2 batch and it could blow this one out of the water.
Yeah.
There's no telling yet.
Man, Thank you, Mama Grimm, because I'm
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have tried that. So, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment down below anything you guys want to see, anything you want, just comment. I like responding to them.
Yeah, I think we're pretty responsive.
I think we're pretty responsive. Actually, Facebook says our response time is immediate, and I like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're active on the social medias.
we are.
Anyway, it's slogan time.
Yeah, I think you take the slogan.
I
You
do.
wanna take the slogan?
No matter how you like your whiskey, that's the right way.